Hi guys, Aaron here with Ghost Raptor Gaming and Guns, and today we have the Canik TP9SA Mod 2 up for review. Now, first things are first. The gun is safe and clear for all you safety freaks out there. And the next thing I like to talk about is my relationship with any of these companies. I like to be as transparent as possible. This is a Canik TP9SA Mod 2, and it wasn't sent to me by Canik or Canik USA, nor was it sent to me by Century Arms, who typically import these firearms. I purchased this gun myself with my own money at D&L in Warwick, Rhode Island. The cost was $300 used. Generally speaking, these are going for about $400 brand new, and they are still in production. Now, if you're new to the channel, you'll see how I like to review the guns is front to back, top to bottom, talking about the features and caveats of those features as I go. And I am actually really excited for this review, and you will learn why as I go through it. But first, I'd like to show you what comes in the box.
The Canik TP9SA Mod 2 comes in a hard plastic Canik branded case, and of course will come with a lot of standard accessories: the bore brush, the cleaning rod, the magazine loading tool, a cheap plastic trigger lock, the owner's manual. You're going to get an additional back strap as well as the changing tool for that, and of course the pistol, two 18-round mech GAR magazines, and a fairly decent outside the waistband holster.
Okay, now that you've seen what comes in the box, let's just dive right into the review because I'm really excited for it. So, the Canik TP9 is basically a Turkish-made clone of the Walther P99, and boy, did they do it really well. The quality is really high in these guns, and it's really, once I'm done with this review, you're going to see why it's no wonder why they really became as popular as they have in this country and around the world, and why there's so many different variations of them, including some other ones I'm really interested in and I'm probably going to get and do reviews on in the future. So, first thing is first, we are going to start with our sights. They are metal sights. I know some people are like, oh my god, polymer sights, but they are metal sights. They are Warren tactical sights. And what they consist of, and I'll try and throw in a close-up here for you guys, is a white dot in the front and then a blacked out rear with some scalloping on it. The sights are a rear U-notch, and what's interesting about this rear U-notch is it truly is a U. Typically your rear sight on most pistols is going to be very squared off. It is a U-notch, but it is a very squared off shape. On this one, it is truly a U shape in the fact that the bottom is rounded off, as again you probably saw in the close-ups that I threw in. Now initially I thought, I don't really like these sights. I don't like the shape of them, and I don't like how it's not a 3-dot variety. I think that there are better options out there. Typically speaking, I would say for a combat pistol you should have a 3-dot variety with tritium inserts or fiber optics. Some sort of night sight would be better. However, that being said, I did think, I'm not really going to like these sights. But when I took it out to the range, I did notice that, yeah, they come up intuitively. They are relatively squared off at the top, so equal height is easy to achieve. And they're really well-regulated sights, and we'll talk about that once we get into accuracy. Overall, good sights, and I like them a lot more than I thought I was going to. So, moving down from there, you can see a standard metal slide here with no forward cocking serrations, which personally I like because I think that adding them, generally speaking, drives the cost of manufacture up, and it encourages you to keep your hand near the muzzle, which I think is always a bad idea. I just laced myself a little bit, speaking of. Moving back from there, we have your extractor. As you can see here, the extractor is long and it's fairly thick, and I had no problems with extraction with this gun. If I move to the top strap, you'll see that there are no serrations here to reduce glare. It's just a flat black, but you do have a loaded chamber indicator. It is tactile and it is visual. It works really well. Moving back from there, you will see a decocker here. Now, this particular model, once you decock it, the trigger can't be pulled. There is another model out there called the DA, where if you decock it, it then goes to a double action trigger. This is a single action trigger. So if I move back and you get a nice close-up of the decocker here, you will see, not a loaded chamber indicator, a striker indicator to let you know that the gun is cocked. If I push down the decocker, you'll see the firing pin disappear into the slide. And that's just to let you know that the gun is decocked. But this is a cocking indicator, and it works really quite well. I haven't had any issues with it. It works really well in disassembly, actually. But yeah, you just push it down, and there it goes. And then when you cock the gun again, you can see that indicator comes back out, so you know that it's ready to go. So, moving down, we have a 3-slot Picatinny rail for lights, lasers, or any other accessories you might want to put on there. Moving further back, you'll see we have these disassembly levers right here, and they work really, really well for disassembly, and I'll get into that later. So the disassembly and the reassembly of the Canik TP9SA Mod 2 is a pretty simple affair. First thing is first, drop your 18-round magazine, pull the slide to the rear, and ensure that the weapon is clear. Then what you'll do is use your decocker here to safely decock the firearm. You'll actually see your cocking indicator disappear here. Bam, just like that. The next thing you're going to do is pull the slide slightly to the rear. Sorry, autofocus. Like so. Depress the takedown levers and let the slide come forward. It's that easy. No need to pull the trigger. Nice and safe. So, if we look inside the frame here, you'll see a pretty standard affair. It looks like many other striker fire guns out on the market. Very Glock-like, but it works quite well. You can see a couple steel inserts, both in the front and the rear. It's on both sides. Nothing special. As far as disassembling the slide is concerned, it's just like most other firearms. Push the recoil spring and guide rod assembly forward. This is a single captive recoil spring with a metal guide rod, and it is quite nice. For the barrel, you're simply just going to push it forward slightly and lift it up and out of the slide, and you can see, again, the finish is holding up quite well, and it is a good quality barrel. Now, here is the inside of the slide, and as you can see here, it's pretty dang good. There are some very faint machining marks that you can see in here, but for the most part, the quality of this firearm is really quite good. And we'll get into the reliability and its results of that quality in just a second, but we're going to reassemble the gun, and then we're going to talk about accuracy. So, to reassemble the gun, it's the exact opposite process of disassembly. All you're going to do here is push the slide, let it kind of drop in on an angle, push it forward, drop it down, bring it to the rear, and let it lock in. There is a small notch here for your guide rod assembly. Slide it into the front like so, push it forward, and let it snap down into that groove on the barrel. That's that. Upend it, line it up with your frame, slide it on, pull the slide all the way to the rear, and that's it. Then from there you can do your function checks if you want. And what do you know? Works perfectly. Moving back from there, you have a slide lock, slide release on the left-hand side, located right here. And it actually works pretty well. It's slightly elongated. You don't really have to break your grip to get it. This is an older design. The newer ones have an even longer one that is improved. But you'll see this is just a piece of sheet metal that's slightly checkered. And it does work quite well. The slide serrations. The slide serrations are fairly wide, fairly deep, pretty aggressive. I have no issue with this guy racking the slide whatsoever. Very good job there. And here's a nice close-up for you, obviously, on both sides. Now, you saw the striker indicator. Let's move down from there and we'll talk about the squared off trigger guard. It is fairly thin, however, it's squared off. It has some texturing here at the front, so if you like to hook your support hand trigger finger over that, you can do that. There is a nice undercut, and it is large enough to get your finger in there should you need to. If you have large hands or if you're wearing gloves, it will be no problem to get your fingers right in there. Let's talk about the magazine release. It is squared off, it is checkered, it's right behind the trigger guard as it should be. It's works quite well. I can hit it without breaking my grip, but I hit it more positively by breaking my grip just slightly. If you have bigger hands than me, that shouldn't be a problem for you. Understand that I'm right on that borderline of small and medium gloves. So if you have regular medium or large hands, extra large hands, you should have absolutely no problem just hitting the magazine release. It does have a generous beaver tail here. Now let's talk about the grip. The texturing on the grip on this particular gun is excellent. It's like perfect. There are no finger grooves. It is really nice because the front strap, as you can see here, has some really nice squared off checkering there, as well as on the back strap. And by the way, these are interchangeable back straps. It comes with a small and it comes with a medium, although there are other ones that you can get on the website, and they run about $7 or $8 a piece. On the sides, both sides, you'll see some nice stippling here and Canik molded into the frame. And again, it's perfect. It's not too aggressive to where it's really uncomfortable to hold, and it's not too smooth where you get zero traction from it. It has just the right balance of roughness. So between the front strap, the back strap, and of course your grip panels here, really nice grip. You get a nice firm grip all the way around the gun with your support hand, as well as with the palm swell of your support hand right here on the grip. Nice firm grip. Excellent texturing. I can't say enough good things about this grip, and it's long enough for your hand and your support hand. It also has this scalloped portion here where the pin for your interchangeable back strap goes through, and you saw the tool in the box. The cool thing about it is that pin also doubles as a lanyard loop. As you can see right there, you can put a leash on this gun if you want to by running it through and over that pin in the bottom of the grip. I think most people probably aren't going to run a leash on their gun, but you might want to do that. At the very bottom of the grip, you're going to see some scalloping right here, and that's to help you strip a magazine out should you have a malfunction. The magazines it comes with are Mech-Gar made 18 round capacity steel magazines. At least I believe they're steel, they might be aluminum. And it has a polymer base pad. It's a pretty typical magazine. However, very high quality magazines. As you probably know, Mech-Gar makes really good mags. They're making them for a ton of firearms manufacturers now because of that high quality, and I had no issues with them whatsoever. They do drop free, and the magazine well is beveled in the front and on the sides, not so much in the back, but on the front and on the sides of the magazine well, you can see that it's beveled. And that makes it really nice for reloads. Reloading this guy was very, very quick and intuitive. It's very easy to just drop the mag, grab it in, and insert that fresh magazine. Hit that slide lock, and you are good to go. So, we've covered all of the features except for one, which is the trigger. And let me tell you what, Canik did a great job with the trigger on this particular firearm. So, there is no magazine disconnect, by the way, but here is the trigger. You can see it's relatively straight, only a slight curve, and it does have that safe action style of Glock safety on the trigger that you'll see on a lot of striker fired handguns, excuse me. So, you've got a little bit of take up here, 2-3 millimeters, and then you hit your wall, and then you get a little bit of sponginess, but a nice clean light break. This is easily a 4-pound trigger. Very easily a 4-pound trigger. So let me show you that again. Nice, real nice. The reset, by the way, on this guy is pretty damn short and crisp. Look at that. It's tactile, it's audible, and it has a really, really good trigger on it overall. And this allowed me to shoot very, very quickly. Actually, when I was shooting this gun, well, let me show you accuracy first and targets, and then I'll talk about how I was shooting the gun. All right, and now on to the part of this review that actually really excites me. So this is me, 7-yard standing Remington 115 grain full metal jacket. These are the first shots I fired with this gun. And as you can see here, decent accuracy. Here, I've got about 1.5 inch group. Over here, I've got about a 2-inch group. As you can see, 1, 2, 3. Then I have 2, since these are 18 round mags, I usually do 3 shots on each target, but here I did 2 in the middle. 1 inch right about here. You got about 1 inch here. You've got about 1 inch here. That's 2 rounds through the same hole. You got 2 here, and then 1 flyer. That's just me. Over here we have Winchester USA Ready 115 grain full metal jacket. Again, me, 7-yard standing. This isn't the best group in the world, but it's about 1.5 inches. Same thing here, it's about 1.5 inches. Here, look at that, 2 right there, and then 1 around just there, so that's just about 1 inch. Look at this group, easily a 1 inch group here. These 2 are a little far apart, and that's a flyer, that's me. I knew I did that as soon as I pulled the trigger on that one. This is also me, S&B 115 grain full metal jacket. This is just over 1 inch. This is just over 1 inch. This is just over 1 inch. This is a little wider. That's me kind of rushing a little bit. And this is just over 1 inch. So what you're seeing here is that the gun is capable of 1 inch groups with relative ease. And I think it has to do with the combination of that really nice trigger and some well-regulated sights. And there's one more thing I really like about this gun overall, and its accuracy and the relation to accuracy that we're going to talk about right now. So you've seen that the gun is capable of 1 inch groups pretty much no problem. A little bit of work on your part and you're right there. It's a super accurate gun. However, it's also a fast shooting gun. Typically when I shoot for accuracy, like I do on all my reviews, what I'll do is you'll see me shoot and it'll be like a 1, 2, 3. Kind of a fair, right? And about that pace. And you'll get those 1 inch groups, 1.5 inch groups, no problem. With this particular firearm, during accuracy testing, the trigger was so good and the sights were so well regulated that I was able to fire more like 1, 2, 3 and get those 1 inch groups really fast, really good consistent trigger, really well regulated sights. So not only is this gun super accurate, but it's really fast to shoot, and it's no wonder why there's a couple competition models out there that are pretty dang popular. I believe the Canik TP9SA took, what was it, the NRA's Gun of the Year in like 2019 or 2020. I'm not surprised by that at all because, man, well-regulated sights and such a good trigger are going to lead to that great accuracy. So, now that we've talked about all that, let's go on to reliability. As you probably know if you've seen any of my videos, I do a 500 round reliability test. It's based on an old Army and NATO standard. The average would be 500 rounds between, 495 rounds between failures on a 5,000 round test. Now, I don't have the money or the time to do that kind of thing, so what I do is I just do a 500 round test and I lot for 1 failure. 1 failure, it still passes. 2 failures, it is a fail. It's a pass-fail event. I am happy to say that in the 500 rounds I fired personally through this firearm, I had no failures of any kind. So not only is this gun 100% reliable, but it's extremely accurate and fast shooting at the same time. I love this handgun. Would I buy it? 100%, and I would give it my highest recommendation, period. However, I think there's a couple of things that are nice about this gun, but there are things that can be improved upon. And one of those things is, of course, something they did improve upon, which is the Mete series of the TP9. They now have an optics ready version that comes with 3-dot night sights. So I think that's a great upgrade, and I will probably end up trading or selling this gun in order to get that upgrade so I can do a review on that gun as well. So understand that the Mete series is a little more expensive than this. If you are more budget minded and you don't care about the frills of night sights or red dots or anything like that, man, highly recommend this gun. Again, $300 used, and you can find it for generally under $400 brand new. One other note is I didn't just fire 500 rounds through this gun. I actually fired closer to 700. Excuse me. And something you need to be made aware of is the recoil impulse on this gun. If you have good recoil control, no issues whatsoever. However, a friend of mine fired this gun, and she actually had a lot of stovepiping issues with it. And I think it had to do with recoil control, and I think it was amplified by just the way the gun sits in the hand. Something to do with the ergonomics of this gun and her hand, the way she was shooting didn't quite work. Now, it's not like she had never fired a gun before, because she has fired this Smith & Wesson 6906 and had no issues with that, as well as this CZ75 PO1, and she had no issues with that. No limp wristing issues, no malfunctions of any kind. But with this one, for whatever reason, she did face those stovepiping issues. But once she worked on her recoil control and got it down, it was 100% reliable from there. So if you're a new shooter, make sure you get a little bit of training before you go out and buy one of these. Or if you do buy one of these, make sure you work on your recoil control to avoid those issues. But as far as a moderately experienced shooter as I am, I had no problems with it, and the gun was 100% for me. It's just a note, and it is very subjective. I just want you guys to be aware of that. The other thing I don't like about this gun is its overall size. For a tactical operation or duty work, I'm sure it's fantastic. I have no problem with it. But carrying the gun, I did note that because it's an 18-round full-size grip, what ended up happening was that the bottom of this grip here at the magazine would push on chairs, car seat, that kind of stuff when I sat down, and it would kind of twist my hip a little bit. So it's a little bit big for a carry, but again, that's very subjective. If you have a bigger frame than me, understand I'm right at the small medium line. I'm 5'7", 140 pounds, so I'm a fairly small guy. If you're 6'2", 250 pounds, are you going to have that issue? Probably not. And there's holster options out there that can remedy that as well. So really, that's another subjective complaint about the gun. But if I had to go into a tactical operation where I wasn't going to be sitting down for long periods of time, I was simply going in to do my job and get out, 100%. I would trust this gun with my life 100%. I can't believe I slept on the Canik TP9 for as long as I did, and I'm really looking forward to getting more of the newer models and doing reviews on them. Really, really like this gun. Now, with the gun being great and all that being said, if you liked what you saw, please like, share, subscribe. It helps me with the algorithms here on YouTube, and you can also leave a tip. They have a new feature where you can do that. $1 would be great, but whatever you can leave is fine. And of course, there is Patreon. Patreon's a subscription service, $1 a month. It goes directly to me, and I spend all of that money on firearms, ammunition, everything I need to do these firearms reviews. Half of the ammunition, that's 250 rounds of the 500 round review, was actually bought and paid for with patron dollars. So thank you so much for my patrons for supporting me on that one. I really appreciate that. And I got nothing else for you. This has been Aaron with Ghost Raptor Gaming and Guns. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.